Honestly. Are you going to introduce us, Ramsey?
I will, but I might as well do it now because apparently we're live. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Andy, to your left is Eden, or Eden, shall I call you by your name or Eden Gray? Which would you prefer, or both?
Both is fine. Eden or Chelsea, but people know me as both.
Okay, so Chelsea is her name and Eden Gray is the name of her music artist name. And
Cool.
Top right-hand corner is Darren. Darren, meet Chelsea. Chelsea, meet Darren.
Hello, Darren.
Hi, Chelsea. Eden. I've been listening to some of your stuff, so.
Oh, cool.
50 Shades of. I've been listening to that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like it.
Yeah,
cool.
Me too. I was listening to that this morning as well. Went to have a little look. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, Eden. Thank you very much for doing that. It was really quite inspiring.
Yeah, I've subscribed to you, by the way. So
one of your live stream things. Well, yeah, I didn't have a clue what you were doing with your modular, but it sounded ace. I really enjoyed it.
And
yeah, I just go crazy.
Same here.
And hello to everyone who's watching, by the way. We are streaming live. And this is what we call the pre-show. So this is where we iron out the bugs for the next 15 minutes and hopefully no more extra bugs appear. No matter what you do with live streams, there's always something that goes wrong. You can have like the best setup. I've said it now, yeah. So we've already got about 15 people waiting in line. Now, I advertised the show publicly to start it on the hour, so there are the regulars that will come in now because they know it's going to be a little bit earlier. And for some reason, I don't know why, but they actually like this part of the show. Maybe this is the actual best part of the show, where we actually don't do anything.
This is when we talk sense.
Yeah. I should also let everyone know that, obviously Andy and Darren, but this is more for Chelsea, that I actually have been away for a week. So there's probably a whole bunch of people that I don't know why, but they've actually missed the show. So, yeah, it's been good. It's actually nice to actually have a break. When you stream every week, week in, week out, it's nice to have a little break. And we just had Easter here in Australia, and I believe also in the UK they have an Easter holiday vacation. We usually have like the Friday and the Monday off either side of the weekend, and we get like a 4-day long weekend, which is pretty cool.
Unless you're working.
Yeah. I saw you on vacation. That's really good.
Yeah, it was
I had my boy on space last week as well.
All right. Now, so this is more for Chelsea. So you've probably, I don't know if you've actually watched my show before or not. We have, we kind of have regular segments where we do things like news. We talk about some funny stuff. And we kind of get through those first. And then we'll probably get into your side of things after that. And then at the end of that, if you still want to hang around, we'll talk about the loose. We always have a loose topic each week, which is this week it's called Vintage Synths. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting, that one, because there'll be questions like, when does a synth become a vintage synth? At what year,
yeah.
At what age does a synth become a vintage synth?
Yeah, like cars now, like some cars are classic almost.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this live stream show? Is this just a pandemic, or did you do it before?
Before, so this is the third year we've been doing it now for.
For every week?
Every week. Yeah, sometimes we have some time off, but yeah. What are we up to? 110?
It's pretty much every week.
110 episodes now.
Wow. There's so much stuff out there. I'm surprised I hadn't heard of you before. But,
that's fine. We're a small community. Usually we get a couple of hundred, maybe 300-400 people watching the show each week, which is I think is amazing. I don't know why 300 or 400 people want to listen to me crap on, but they do. So
they don't want to listen to you, Ramsey. They want to listen to us because we talk sense.
They're here for Andy. Yeah.
So is it like an hour or 2 hours?
Usually it's around 2 hours. I don't think we've ever managed to do an hour. And if we do an hour, people get angry because it's too short.
Oh, okay. Well, I better get a bottle of water in that case.
Yeah, go get yourself all set up. Yeah, absolutely.
Get everything to eat as well.
Yeah, just do what Darren does. Have crisps and lollies and...
Yeah.
And
Great. Well, what have I got? I've got some biscuits. I've got some sweets. Yeah. What else? Some more stuff.
So whilst Darren's showing
you can tell we're on it.
such
what
such
actually
a healthy
happens,
lifestyle you've
what
got
actually
there.
really happens is Darren mutes the mic and he yells out to the wife who runs down to the kitchen and grabs him supplies during the show. That's what he does.
I just sit here chomping away. Yeah. and then you come over to me and I've got a clue what you've been talking about because I've been eating.
Yeah, that's it. Chelsea, Darren was just showing us his stash of snacks that he's going to consume during the show.
So, like, these, you see. Biscuits, sweets, anything.
And I've got a mug full of peanuts.
Oh, yeah, and Christmas, you see.
I've got.
You have to have everything.
I've got some Arnott's. Do you have Arnott's? I think they're Australian. Arnott's biscuits. Arnott's shortbread.
I had some digestives. They have them at the store in the English section.
Right. Oh yes, they're cool. Those shops that have the international food sections. They're really cool. I like that.
Yeah, they do. They have like a little section with the HP sauce, the Marmite, the chutney, whatever.
And the Australian section has the Vegemite.
Oh, that's fake, Rand.
Some people like it.
I don't really like it that much. It's not that nice. I'm more of I do like savory stuff, but I don't really like. It's like if I was to have it on toast or something like that, I would have it very, very sparingly, like just a small sort of smear of it, because it's very overpowering flavour. Both of them, Marmite and Vegemite, similar tastes. Vegemite is evil.
I should try to switch.
Not for me.
Can I switch to my other internet really quick? Go out for a second.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
To see if it's a little bit. Okay.
Change your internet.
A synth becomes vintage once it's half full, half 100. There, thanks, Robbie. Yeah, I'll remember that. I'll get you back for that later.
A synth becomes vintage once you've opened the box.
Hey, hang on a sec. Is that that's a bit of the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it, from Robbie? Didn't he just turn the big 5-0?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's just turned 60 this week, so that's really rude of him to say that.
He's turned 5-0 in dog years. Dear. We can
Good show last night, by the way, Robbie. Really enjoyed it.
It was having Lisa Dellabonna. That was really good.
Lisa Belladonna. Yeah,
Belladonna, yeah. That was really good. I watched that. I didn't obviously watch it live because I was snoring at that stage. But yeah. You know what time that show is on when I'm in my part of the world?
Time.
It's literally, it's like 3 a.m. Like that is the point of the night when we are in our deepest sleep. Oh, Chelsea's back. Beautiful.
Yeah, but still lagging a bit. You guys are really quick and I'm lagging.
You're lagging.
Mine's the same. It's gone really gross. I thought I've got a new router thing which was sent me, which has made the connection miles faster. I've noticed.
Darren's is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be quiet over the side.
And just go through them all. Yours is okay. I think yours is fine. It's probably about as good as it's going to get. Don't forget, it's going all the way around the world, and then it's going back to YouTube.
Yeah. Not only here to hear what we're saying, not what we're looking like.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't. I think like what Chelsea was saying, it's laggy. So as long as it's not too much of a bad experience for her, that's going to be important, of course. Now we're 5 minutes away from the show starting. So in the chat, you guys in the chat, can you let us know, please, if you're happy with not that. I'm just testing these. Right, not that. Not that. Good. Let us know if you're happy with the audio and everything. There's These are all my tests that I do, and my chatties, that's what I haven't done. Live chat, pop out. I've got to copy this URL. This is all exciting, guys. Close that. Hopefully I don't close the wrong one. Imagine if I closed the actual whole window. That would actually suck big time. No, I didn't. That was good. Paste that in. And within some magic seconds, we should have chatties. Yay! There they are. So we can go to that at some stage. That's good. That's good. That's good. Cool, cool. I don't have Discord turned on today. I don't think I'm going to bother. But we do have Discord. If you are into Discord, which one's the Discord? This is the Discord here. That's the Discord address. So that's an easy one to remember. bit.ly/Rainsy Discord. If you're into Discord, that is. A lot of people seem to be more into Discord these days. They're starting to move away from the social media platforms because they are starting to feel that they're dictating what content we see. They're starting to feel that these social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook and the big ones, they're starting to dictate what we see and what we hear and what we are allowed to say. And so, like, for example, when COVID was on, you now get this message in Facebook. Whenever you mention COVID, there's this automatic pop-up that says fact check about COVID. So like,
yeah, it's weird.
You can't even talk about COVID without being sort of everyone reminded that it might not be a real thing that you're talking about, like you're being censored. So
it's so weird. But Discord is hard.
Rock in a hard place, though, aren't they?
Discord is hard. Yep.
Yeah, because there's so many, and then you can put things on different ones, and then some people just don't see it, or they put a lot of things. You have to really talk to people a lot on there to get something. It's a lot to get.
It kind of just scrolls off into the distance, doesn't it? That's one of the hard things about it. So if you're not on there constantly and you're just sort of on there every now and then, it becomes a bit too difficult to use. But what we use Discord for is basically there's, every week there's a show, and in between the show, they like to continue conversations outside of the show, and then Discord is a good platform for that. So yeah, in 2 minutes.
What about Saya, Chelsea?
What's that?
Whereabouts are you?
In Miami.
What time is it here?
No, he said whereabouts are you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Miami right now. Yeah, super hot.
Oh, what is it, like 80, 85?
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful.
Already. Yeah, there's a bit of wind sometimes, but in the summer it's just really, really hot. Barely any wind.
Fantastic. So one of the other things that we do, the reason why we do that 15-minute pre-show is because we're about to hit the main show, and I'll roll a stinger in a sec, is all the video feeds that are coming in actually stabilize. It gives them a chance for the interwebs to get their groove, and it's interesting how that actually is a phenomenon, believe it or not. But having said that, what I will do is I will start the show in, how long have we got? Here we go. There it goes. Hi, welcome. Another Saturday. It's been a couple of Saturdays probably since you've seen my ugly face, but a big warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, this is a synth geekery show where we talk all about synths and geekery sort of stuff, and everything kind of music tech, that sort of stuff. We've got some awesome people today and a special guest as well, so let's crack on over to everybody who's here. We'll start off ladies first, and first time on the show, and a very big warm welcome to Chelsea, who's known as Eden Gray. Hello, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's really fun to be on one of these multiple people chats.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Now, obviously, we'll get to come to you and we'll sort of dig into your world very, very soon. But Chelsea, feel free to join in the banter between now and when we get to you. We've got a couple of regular segments coming up first. You'll feel you'll get sort of a bit more comfortable with that as we go anyway. Because we're also going to say hello to Andy. Hello, Andy. How's your fortnight been? Last time I've seen you.
Yeah, well, I've had a week of holiday because we're on school holidays. I've got another week next week off. I've bought some new bits and bobs. One of which is my new boom arm thing, which arrived yesterday, just in time for today, and it's great. It's miles better than the old one in so many ways, but it was considerably more expensive. But it is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I did a load of shopping for a table. I was going to buy a table. And actually, I'm going to say this. I ended up not buying a table because of Native VS. Native VS happened to mention that I had an X stand, a keyboard stand, propping the door open. And I thought, why do I spend £150 on a table when I can just get a piece of wood and stick it on an X stand? So I ran down to B&Q, which is our sort of one of the hardware suppliers, and just got a piece of hardboard or something like that, MDF. 120 by 65 centimeters, and stuck it on the X stand and made my own table, and it does the job brilliantly. Cost me £11.95. I feel like I've saved £140.
You've been thrifty.
That was fun. My new Eurorack module hasn't landed yet, which I'm a bit disappointed about. It was shipped on Monday. I thought it had got here by now, but it's probably still stuck in a customs warehouse somewhere in the south of England. So, but it'll get here eventually. And I've had a bit of a change around. Can I show you? Can I move my camera around? I don't know if I can get it in, but see if we can make it work. If it looks horrible, tell me.
Go for it. Move the camera. Break everything.
Yeah, that's it. That's what'll happen. Oh, there's my prune. So if I do that now, how's that looking? There you go.
So that's your Behringer Go case and a table, nice, that you've just talked about.
Yeah, so it's all on mini tone, so it's the Go case. Why can I not get that at an angle now? This sort of thing really does me in. takes ages to get a camera in the right place, doesn't it?
Welcome to the world of cameras.
More respect for cameramen. There you go. There's coming around. So I've got the BeatStep Pro set up with it and the TD3.
Yep.
And there's me Go case with all the bits and bobs in it on this table. I'm really quite pleased with the way that's gone.
That's really, really nice.
Yeah, it's looking all right. I'll need to get some kind of a throw with some kind to put over the table, some kind of nice bit of material or something. But sorry, folks, if that made you feel seasick.
It was a little bit.
Can't hear. That's because I ran away from the microphone.
It was a little bit crunchy, but I think we got the most of the gist of it, and obviously we can see your stuff up there as well. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to pop over to Darren and say hello to him. Hello, Darren. How's the 2 weeks been since I've last seen you?
2 weeks. It's been okay. I did disappear offline for a while though, so I didn't know what was going on in the music world for a bit. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's been fine. It's been carrying on writing really. My album that was going to have 10 tracks is now gone to 15. So yeah, other than that, it's been good.
Fantastic. And I've noticed, I don't think there's been any new additions to your setup above your head there, if I can remember the... you were going to put some stuff on above you on the right-hand side, next to the 2600, but I don't think you've got to that yet.
No, I need to save up for that. I've got plans for that. The same as this side here, next to the module. I've got plans for that as well. So, but that's all in good time. At the moment, I've just been sat down writing. I've just not had any spare cash, so that I'm working. So that's the problem.
Working's good though, because that's what generates cash.
It's been fine. Well, that's the only reason I can get all this stuff. Otherwise,
exactly.
So yeah.
It's good.
I need to do a bit more work so I can get some more kit, and then hopefully next time I'll be on my decent mic rather than the webcam mic.
Yeah, well, it's a bit crunchy tonight. All the cameras are except mine because I'm here, and that would be a problem if it wasn't. Anyway, it's nice to see you all, and obviously we'll talk a little bit later in more detail about what you've been up to. But we can't forget about these fantastic people here who are called the chatties, and there's about 30 of you now, according to YouTube. Wow! So that grows pretty quickly. So the first person in was Andy, but we won't count him. Native VS, big hello to you. Marcus from Greece, hello Marcus. Atto Z, JP Page 2, X101, Sensian, ASIO Head, Human Error, Wagoo, JX3D, big hello to JX3D. Who else have we got? Keith from Watford is there, and Future World Machines. Stephen there, Max there, Martin Taylor's there. Big hello to you guys. And a lot of these people we see regularly on the other shows too, so it's good to see that we're all sort of in the same community. Corrosive Abuser is there. I'm just scrolling through all the chat messages as I do every week, and I always miss people. Mike Delik's there. Big hello to Mike.
My friend Lee.
Yes, very friendly. Robbie Pucelli's
No, my friend Lee.
Your friend Lee's there? Okay, cool. We'll probably get to that. I'll probably say that. Inverted Popes is there. Mark M's there. They always like their names to be read out because it's kind of makes them feel part of it, and I think it's important too. So I do take the time to do this each time we have our show. Well, they're more important than me anyway. Who else have I forgotten? I usually forget people when they get really angry with me. So your friend Lee, is that Lee Fact 25? Is that the one
Yes.
you're talking about? Beautiful. So we can see Lee there. Hello to you. And I'm getting to the point where we are getting close to the end of the scrolling. So I've probably missed a whole bunch of people. Usually there's a whole bunch of people that jump in right now as I'm scrolling to the end, and they get really, really crappy if I don't mention their name. Like Adamski. Hello, Adamski. So yeah, if you... Vic's there. Hello, Vic. Vic Petrov. Beautiful. But like I say every week, if I have forgotten to mention your name, just pick up your synth and throw it at the screen in disgust, because we can't have that. That's horrible. Right, okay, we shall move on. Now this week we have had a couple of weeks off and the memes have been coming in thick and fast. So let's have a bit of a look to see what's been funny in the synth world. And I don't know why that's not playing, but let's go like that.
That's what's been funny, nothing.
There we go. Technical issues aside, we have memes galore. Look at that one. First one off the ranks is this weird looking thing. Oh, dearie me. I mean, who's into cassettes, right? This is the ultimate cassette machine for your DJ setup.
Toaster.
It looks like a toaster, and God knows what this is. I had to put. I mean, if anyone
you
actually,
want one of them.
If anyone actually knows what this does,
It looks ace.
it looks like Photoshop's been at it. But yeah, but the CTM 4000 TSTR by a Pioneer DJ looks like to be a winner. Ring now and you get a free set of blank cassettes. All right, what about this one? This one I thought was interesting. It's not really a meme. This is more just kind of a cool picture that I saw. And I don't know if it's been photoshopped or what, but is this in the International Space Station? Someone will be able to tell me. They've probably seen this meme, right? There's an astronaut there and he's got a couple of synths, and I think it's Ableton on the screen there. I think it's just really well done. And it just got my nerdiness going. Yeah. Anyway, is that like up the top where the roof is? That looks like a VU display. So you've got the VU display all the way around the roof. That'd be a cool thing, actually. All right, now what
did you do with the telescope?
The telescope? Well, yeah, that's for me for soldering my SMC components for those Dirac modules. That's what that's for. What else? This one was interesting, wasn't it, guys and ladies? How the new Marvel movie Loki I think it's Lockie, isn't it?
Volca keys.
It's got the Volca keys in it. Look at that. And
Is that real?
well, there's a couple, like if you actually watch the trailer, I can't play it because obviously I'll get copyright strike, but if you watch the trailer, you actually see it panning around, you'll see the back of it as well. So it is actually a Volca keys.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's not a Photoshop job. And the whole world has been going crazy, the whole synth world, I should say. That's the only real world, isn't it? They've been going crazy over this. So it's really cool. So obviously it's a dig at Marvel trying to get some more people to watch their movies. Maybe they need some synth people to watch. I don't know. Anyway, what else have we got? This is a post on Synthesizers Freaks Facebook group where someone said had a birthday synth jam last night and a drunk friend was hitting another friend's old Roland with plastic mallets and this happened. How easy is this fixed? Not much of a friend, is it? I think there might be a bit of raging with that friend if that was to happen. So I don't know if that's actually a real thing or if that's been photoshopped, but yeah, anyway. There are the memes of the week or the fortnight. Anyone have a favourite? What about you, Chelsea? Are you into memes?
If I find a really funny one, then yeah. I mean, it's hard because there's so many stupid ones. So.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. Does anyone have a favourite they must mention, or were they all really, really lame?
Toaster.
Toaster, right? Darren likes the toaster.
I think the toaster.
I want one.
Too.
I actually want one.
Toaster's the winner. I agree. If it's real, it would be interesting.
That's got to become a real thing. Yeah.
Someone's got to build it. Yeah. All right. Well, what are the chatties saying? Did the chatties think? What did the chatties think? Do they think the? Where are we? They've gone here. What are the chatties thinking?
They're just ignoring us and talking to themselves.
No, Martin said toaster. Future World Machine says Azio Head said toaster. There's a few people are saying toaster's the best one. They were talking before about the Marvel Volca keys as well. So yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
Will it mean that my Volca key's gone up in value, do you think? Do you think there'll be a high? Will it be worth 300 quid now?
I think they'd be selling lots of them now. Because everyone wants to do like Marvel movie scenes with it.
Only if you can prove that it was in the actual
Mine's
film.
for sale. Bargain at £400.
Well, it's definitely in the trailer. I actually went to the YouTube channel of the YouTube for Marvel, and it's definitely in there. So go check it out. All right, we should get to the news. And every week, we always find some interesting things to talk about. Now, this week is no different, but there's not a lot of news. I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's been a little bit quiet on the news front lately, but this thing kind of caught my eye. Now, you guys probably haven't seen this because unless you're in the sort of tech world that I'm in, you may have, but this is a little sort of side GitHub project, and it's a take on the Chromecast audio side of things. And what makes this really, really interesting is someone has gone and made this thing where you can actually play audio from another device and stream it into this, and this has the audio output connections, as you can see on the image on the right hand side. So you can plug it into your mixer, or you can plug it into a home theater system or whatever. And the whole cool thing about it is it's using the Chromecast platform. And I do have a little video to show you. So I just thought this was really interesting because this could have some benefits to us in the music industry. So let's go over to Jan Henrik Hemsig on Twitter, and we'll have a quick look at his video here. Now I'm hoping this audio is working. This is how small this thing is. So it's a tiny little device, as you can see. There is audio, and he's plugged it into his home stereo system, and he is just playing music from his laptop straight into, hopefully this doesn't break any copyrights, and you can see it's just streaming straight into that, so over Wi-Fi. So the reason why I'm showing you guys it is because this could have some benefits to the world of music and musicians, because the actual audio quality over this thing is actually really, really high quality. So you could use this in a live situation. The whole thing is cableless. So the actual, even though you can see cables in that picture there, that's only the connection between the home theater system and the USBs to power it. So the actual streaming of the music came over the wire. Sorry, not over the wire, over the air was what I meant to say. Is that interesting to anyone? What do they think of that? What do they call it? It's called something special. Otter. Well, let's go to this. I'll show you. It's on Hackaday. If you ever visit Hackaday, it's called Otter Cast Audio. And you can actually go and download all the schematics and firmware to make this yourself if you're into this. So I will put the link for this article in the video description if you want to go into it a bit more. But yeah, well done to Jan. Pretty cool project, I think. So yeah, should we move on to the next one? Crickets.
Is it basically like Bluetooth and across? Is that sort of, or am I completely not missing?
I think it uses Wi-Fi, if I remember rightly, because I don't know if you guys have ever used Chromecast. So when you've got your phone and you might have like YouTube on your phone, and there's that little icon where you can press it and it finds your TV in your lounge room, and you can Chromecast whatever you're watching on your phone to your TV. It's that system. So it's Wi-Fi, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't really understand it at all, so.
That's fine. It's basically just transmitting audio
Don't
over
worry,
Wi-Fi.
neither do I. Didn't understand any of that, but it's all very clever.
That's why I was asking. That's why I was asking if it was Bluetooth. It just seems to be doing the same sort of thing, really. I know you're using Wi-Fi, for instance, like you would.
Wi-Fi travels over bigger distances, though. Bluetooth is only up to 10 meters.
So it's a similar thing.
It's
just using Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But don't they have that anyway?
I think the benefit with this is the quality, because I believe Bluetooth has a limit to quality, obviously, because it's a low latency, low voltage type affair, whereas this is Wi-Fi, so you can ram a bit more quality through it. Obviously, it can play video through this, so if it's just sending audio, it can literally play the full, uncompressed WAV file across this, and that's kind of the interesting part of it. So if you've got a 96K WAV file, it will Chromecast audio at that rate to another device. So you're getting beautiful quality audio. That's kind of the beauty of it. So yeah, Sensian's asked in chat, how would it transmit to a mixer? So basically, you would so you can just set it there. You would just connect your mixer input to it. I think there's a connection sort of picture on here. Where has it gone? This one. So you can see the connectors up the top. And yeah, you just connect your into an input like that, and you can play it through your mixer. So that would be a way to do it. Anyway, we shall move on to the next one. We have another thing that's popped into news, and that's this thing by DirtyWave, and this is another tracker product that's come out. And yeah, the Poly N tracker. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Go grab it if you need to. It's really been making some headways lately, and they've actually been in the news as well by making some artist renditions of the hardware. But DirtyWave have brought out this thing. It's a little handheld tracker, and it's called Mate or M8. And yeah, a couple of bit of info about it. We can tell you that it's going to be $450 US, and it ships in July. And I do have a little video I can show you guys. Here we go. The cool thing about this is it's basically another tracker, sort of sample player, sequencer, synthesizer. It does have, it's powered by a little teensy micro in it. It is inspired by a Game Boy tracker called Little Sound DJ. It features 8 tracks. You can assign instruments capable of a wide range of sounds, including waveform synthesis, FM, virtual analog, sample playback, and it also has MIDI output. And this is, like I said, it's a little handheld device, so it's different to the Poly N tracker, which is more of a tabletop thing. So yeah, any more information, there'll be a link in the description below. I do have a little bit of info here I can show you guys on the website, which we can share. So you can see specifications there and a little bit of input, output, connectivity, that sort of stuff. A little screen, little IPS type panel. It is a touch screen, which I think was interesting because the Poly N tracker doesn't have a touch screen. So it's got audio in and out, MIDI in and out, stores its info on an SD card. It's got built-in speakers as well. And what more information would we want? 4 operator FM, 12 algorithms, 8 to 24-bit mono and full stereo waves, global effects, reverb, chorus and delay, master bus limiter, sample recording and song rendering and bouncing. There's no sample memory or length limitation. Now that's a good one. That is actually a good one. So that would mean that it would probably be whatever the SD card can handle. And I think that's probably got a few people interested in it. Anyway, what do you guys think of the DirtyWave M8? Does that sound interesting?
It looks cool, but the screen might be a little hard. Definitely need some glasses to see it or something. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't see small writing as well anymore.
I'm just going to, while you're talking, Chelsea, I'm just going to grab the Poly N tracker just to show you as an example. Let's get it from the corner here.
Yeah, but the buttons look fun. It looks like a lot to play it.
Okay. Sorry, I just had to take my headphones off for a second while I was grabbing it. All right, what's the best way to show you guys? So if you haven't seen the Poly N tracker, that's what that looks like. I haven't got it plugged in at the moment, but this is like a screen here, and this doesn't have a touch screen. You kind of control it from, you know, all these buttons and things on the side. So these are been pretty popular, and they're about the same price as this other thing, as the DirtyWave. So yeah, it's kind of it's starting to emerge. Like there's a Eurorack tracker. I forget what the module's called. Every time I mention it, I always forget the name of it.
NerdSeek.
That is it.
XMSeek.
Yeah. And so you've got the Poly N tracker, which is a desktop thing, and now you've got this handheld one. So I think the world of tracker is starting to become a new re-emergement of old tech, and I think a lot of people are starting to really, really like the way trackers work. I know we've shown it before, Andy, on the show, and you kind of didn't gel with the whole, you know, programming side of it, but a lot of people do.
By numbers.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
If the numbers game is your thing, if looking at series of numbers and being able to interpret them as something meaningful is something you can do, then I've got no problem, you know, with that. They are devices for making music. I just look at it and go, I know that it wouldn't, because I can't deal with numbers. Numbers just confuse the living daylights out of me. I see no pattern in number. People think I can't. I've always found it very difficult. So it's almost like the idea of torture for me. The idea of programming everything in number by number, and no, thank you. It's almost the entire opposite of the way I want to go with stuff. You know, I want to reach out and just twist a knob and it do something. I'm sure some people out there will find it wonderful, and they'll think it's just the dog's bollocks and will love it. But I know it's not for me.
Yeah. Look, look, I can see some people jumping on a train or a bus or a plane and, you know, just having this with them, and it's got 6 hours battery life on this thing. So you can just chuck it in your pocket with your pencil organizer. So, you know, if that's what you're up to.
VS has just mentioned the MC8 and the MC4, the old Roland sequencers, which were also very much, you programmed every single thing with it. Hell's teeth. No, thank you.
Well, we will be visiting the vintage synth topic a bit later, and there is a product that I'm going to show you that actually has a sequencer in it, and it is laborious to make work, but a tracker would be a breath of fresh air compared to this thing. But anyway, beautiful. All right, that is it for the news. I mean, look, there's other news, and I just didn't think that it's like. You watched Pro Synth Network Friday night, you watched Sonic State on Wednesday, they covered all those topics. We don't need to cover them again, unless there's something I actually want to discuss about them, and if they've been well discussed, I think it's fine. Anyway, beautiful. What's next? Oh, yes. We will roll the stinger for the last segment. Scammers beware. We're going to have to watch these prices, especially if you guys are out there wanting to buy one of these. And I don't know if you do, but I mean, Chelsea, you might want to buy one of these. This is the CWE J-Man VCO2RM Eurorate modular. And I believe this guy's died, he's passed on, which is actually quite sad. And because of that, they are actually taking the P155 in asking for this sort of price for probably around about a $300 US module. So it is a bit sad, people doing that. And the person that sent me this was a little bit annoyed about that sort of thing going on. But anyway, this to me would probably be not classified as a scam. This would probably be classified as a good old-fashioned rip-off. But yeah, if you are happy to pay £1,200 for a module, go for it, I would say. Chelsea, this segment, we kind of just show, you know, sort of annoying things that may be of interest, and maybe this one you might like. Here we go. Yes, if you ever used computers back in the day, there was this wonderful, well, it wasn't a VST, it was actually a software package called Cakewalk. And if you want, you can get the whole lot of this stuff unopened for £3,000. I don't know what the hell the planet this guy's living on, but it unfortunately I can't get it because it doesn't post to Australia. But look, if you want to get some used software, even though he says it's not used, it is used software because it says condition used. Who actually buys software that probably doesn't even work on your latest computer anyway for £3,000 for a start, when you could probably just download it for free? I mean, you have to be a fan.
You might be selling the computers to go with it.
You get the CD. Yeah.
It's silly that.
It's got 100% feedback, positive.
It's what for his one sale. No, you had a couple.
It was an error. Do you think he meant to type £30 and accidentally hit too many zeros?
I don't know. I just think it's 140.
No,
you can actually
comma in there.
You can actually get there's a sexy comma in there. You can actually get it for £142 per month for the next 2 years if you want to go that way. So, jeez, I don't know. I honestly feel
the temptation runs.
I always feel sorry for someone who goes, "Oh my God, that's like the best version of Cakewalk. I really want that. Buy." And then they can't eat for the next 2 months. They're eating ramen for the next 2 months.
Do you think those people exist?
I don't know. Anyway, we should probably get serious now because that was all a bit of light fun. And anyway, we will move on. Okay, now, how about we talk to Chelsea about Chelsea stuff because she's here. And she's got some cool things to talk about. Now, while you're talking, Chelsea, I'm going to get I'm going to get the Bandcamp page up, and what else? I'm going to get your website that you've got. So we'll go through that, and I might sort of go backwards and forwards between your face talking and then showing things as they are relevant to what you're talking about. So maybe what we might do first is you can, I guess, introduce yourself and your journey up until now, kind of, because it's actually really interesting. I really enjoyed reading your bio. So do you want to start that way? Do you think that might be a good way to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was really good doing the PhD most recently in my career. But for the past decade, I've been really into music and academia. I started my master's in music technology in 2011 and finished that in 2014. I was really into trying to make some kind of, well, I guess it was ambient, but kind of electro ambient. So it wasn't really, I don't know, it was just all very, I was using the radius in the beginning of my master's, and then I started using the Eurorack in 2013, and it really changed my sound, I think, a lot after I started implementing like Moog sub-fatty, and that was my first analog synth. And then a couple months later, I started with Eurorack, and that was in 2013. So it had a big effect on the sound because I was using a lot of like VSTs too. I really liked Rob Papin's, and I had a bunch of other hacked ones in my early days. But so in like 2007 is my earliest kind of finished tune, and then right now I just put out my new Philophonia. I put it out like March 29th, I think. So it'll be on Spotify soon. But I put it on Bandcamp just in time for Bandcamp Day. And it's the first album that I've made after the PhD. Really just like music that I, because I just finished in June 2020. I was finally awarded from Royal Holloway Uni of London. And it was all about making compositions with the Eurorack and how I implement the sounds I make with it into the composition. Sometimes I'll improvise things with it, but I do it differently. I won't, I don't have like a drum machine module or anything. So I use it only for sound design.
Yeah.
And improvisation. Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. What we
I hope
might...
that was clear. It was a bit muddled.
No, that was perfect. What we might do, I mean, obviously a few takeaways from that is like, wow, you've got a PhD like that. It's a massive amount of undertaking. I mean, I've actually started a PhD myself, so I know exactly what you've gone through there. So extremely well done
so
to
hard.
actually get through it and actually finish your thesis and everything. So well done. And obviously
on
before
that topic, Rands.
Yeah.
So can we jump at Sasquatch asked a question in the chat, and it was also a question that sort of interests me. We'd quite like to know what doing a master's degree and therefore by extension a PhD in music technology actually involves. What did you have to do for that? What was the nature of the course? I think we'd be quite interested to hear.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay. So music technology was a big paper writing on research that you've done, the research composition. So you write about the research that you've become most interested in. This is in both papers. They're both kind of about the same length, I guess. The PhD one is a bit longer, but it's writing the compositions based on research, and then writing the paper just very clear about the research, presenting it as you've discovered it, but it has to be super clear and very straightforward and to the point when you're talking about something so abstract as music. And then explaining the composition. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
compositions.
and obviously because you did the masters. So for you to do a PhD, you've got to do an undergrad degree, then you've got to do your masters, and then you're able to do a PhD, because it's kind of like they're the stepping stones to get, like the path to get from A to B. So when you did your masters, was it a kind of a similar sort of topic subject, or was it kind of different?
Well, the masters led me to discover so much. That was really what made me interested to pursue farther the PhD, especially the Eurorack. If I hadn't discovered that, it would have been in a completely different direction. But I probably still would have done music, but it wouldn't tell about this particular format, because I find this so fascinating. And so that's what it ended up. I mean, that's not really what I thought it was going to be, but that's the direction it took, because that's what I was reading the most.
Yeah. Why don't we have a quick look at you playing at Superbooth in 2018? This is just a real sort of a segue. Now, I believe some of you guys have seen this already, but it's definitely worth checking out. So this is Chelsea playing at Superbooth. I'll just get this going. Is there any specific part of this you want me to show, or should I just play it from the start?
Yeah, go in the middle. Go towards minute like 11.
Go to about 11.
Yeah, I think that's a good part. I did include this performance as part of my PhD.
Fantastic.
The best thing about it was how loud it was. And they said they only included this camera view because the other camera was too shaky from how loud it was.
Oh, cool. Beautiful. We'll get to some more of your music, I think, coming up soon. One of the things I loved about that performance is how you used like an oscillator to the point where it was literally just being like an LFO, and it was just ticking along. And you know, it's cool how you were just kind of pushing away sort of stereotype sounds in synthesis, and you're actually saying, no, I actually like how this oscillator is just ticking along, and I'm going to crunch that up and glitch that up and go with that. And I think it was really cool. And then you sort of sped it up and slowed it down. So things like that. And I love watching other people do things in synthesis, because you kind of sit there and listen to it and you think, oh, wow, you did that. That's actually a cool idea. You know what I mean? Like it's really refreshing. Okay. Now, the other thing I should show is, while we've got websites and stuff open, is obviously you've got a Bandcamp page, and we should probably show that. And you mentioned before that Philophonia is your new album, which is this one here. But you've also got quite a lot of stuff on here as well. Now, this is the Eden Gray Bandcamp page, by the way, the one that you sent me the link through. But let me just quickly go to this. So the Philophonia album has 5 tracks, is that right?
5 tracks, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if... So you haven't launched this on any sort of Spotify or anything like that yet, have you? So this doesn't have a copyright attached to it yet. It's just on Bandcamp, right?
At the beginning of the week, I put it, so it should be there in Spotify and Apple Music in a couple of days. I use DistroKid, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
Should be on there.
I won't play it then because that means it's already on the system. It'll give me a copyright claim. But yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So anyway, it's just Eden
I didn't
Gray.
know.
That's fine. It's fine. That's just how the algorithms work. EdenGray.bandcamp.com. I'll link that into the video in a second. And you guys can go and check out her music. Now, I will admit, this stuff is actually really, really, really cool. I've listened to, because Chelsea sent me through the tracks earlier in the week. I'm actually one of her patrons, so it's one of the benefits we get. And it's really, really worth the listen, so go check that out. And the other thing that she does too is this really, really cool thing called CV Freaks. And this is kind of, I guess, where we probably need to go to you, Chelsea, and you can talk about this while we're sort of scrolling through this. So tell us about CV Freaks and what you've got planned. And it's, yeah, this is super cool.
Yeah, Freaks is super exciting. It was an event that I was organizing in London while I was doing the PhD. It's like a research event so that I can see everybody bringing out their systems and see what they have in there and hear what they do with them. I have speakers, I have them bring their system, and, you know, the people that are sorry to talk about them. And I bring mine too, and I'm always showing pin as well. So it's so fun. And those are all pictures from past events. We had them at 5 different venues. I had, you know, I organized them mostly myself. I would meet some manufacturers at Super Booth and invite them to come over. And so I had XOR, Thomas from XOR came, Jan Willem, Ginkgo Synths. I had so many. VPME. I can't really name them all. There's so many to participate, and then artists as well. So, you know, we had the guys who performed at Super Booth as well. The Strymon. I don't know if you guys know them, but they're amazing. They use giant systems. I had them come over to one CV Freaks event. But anyways, the events are cool. It's really fun to get everybody together and kind of celebrate this. It is cacophonous, but it's just so much. It's like really just pummeling yourself with this amazing sounds. It's great. Yeah, so I started them in 2013 when I first started the research in Eurorack for my master's at Portland. So that's where I got the whole idea to start making this, because you know, I didn't know anything about it then. So I did the first events in Portland with 4MS, and then when I went to London, it fell together. Like, it just came together. And
so when you say 4MS, is that the Eurorack modular company that you're talking about?
Yes, 4MS company.
Yeah.
And Maleko was right next door. So Maleko came to play one of those events too. But you know, Dan Green played, and wonderful. Portland is an amazing city. And I only 6 weeks there, but they taught me so much in that time and helped me build one to take home with me. And yeah, then I ended about it in the master's paper.
Wow. Well, the other thing that you're doing is a regular podcast, which I've been watching. You know, there's a few episodes already. So definitely, I've linked your CV Freaks YouTube channel into the video description already, so people can go check that out later. So that's something else that's cool. Now, you've got some news that you're about to do some studio space coming up soon. So this is really big for you.
It's big news because I've been doing everything since the pandemic from my home studio right here, which is really quite small. So we're gonna start something up north with my partner. Well, he found me through this event, 612 in London, and then just decided yeah, well, let's make CD Freaks a real kind of event space, and we'll do workshops, and we'll have it be a big studio where people can come in and play the equipment, and maybe we can, start people off with a few modules, like if try to have a small stock of some unique modules, but nothing too crazy because we'll buy a lot of modules online, but it's really good to have a few there just so that people can try them out. We have plenty of stuff for people to try. Well, have this one case, one other over there, and then one 104 HP skiff. So what I have is plenty to work with, but I'm interested to learn about more. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm fully converted to Eurorack now myself. I'm actually in the process of building my own custom case skiff. I'm going to be doing 2 104 HP, and I'm going to be doing 5 rows or 15U. Or 4 rows, I don't know. I actually haven't decided yet. So at this stage, all I've got is kind of all the bits, the hardware. So I've got the power rails, the bus boards, the power supplies. I'm using the Tip Top audio rail kit hardware for mounting. At the moment, I'm just waiting for that to come in, and then I'm going to be starting a little vlog series on my YouTube channel where I'm going to be taking people through the process of how to design your own case and what you need, and a bit geeky, but it's going to be fun, and it's going to go here where you can see at the moment. You can see I've got 2 rack roots. They're both the 6U rack roots, and on the far corner I've got the Behringer Go case down there. And I also have another a nifty case that I use as well. So they're all full, and so obviously I went a bit crazy, Chelsea. This is what happens to us in the Eurorack world. We always find there's something cool out. And speaking of that, I actually ordered something today. So it's one of those things that kind of just keep happening.
I like your mailbag. That's so cool. That really neat how you open the box and then plug it in, and it's really
it's kind of me just being lazy actually, because sometimes you've got to put content on your channel. But yeah, the point of it is really just so we just go through that experience where it's the first time you get something, and it's interesting to see what people do with things when they're not in like that sort of high-end commercial professional sort of mode where everything's all polished and perfectly edited type videos of people using synths. I kind of want more of us just, I'm plugging it in now. I've just turned it on. This is my first reaction to what this sounds like. That's more real, more raw. And I like that sort of stuff. And I wish a lot of YouTubers that are in the synth world would do less of the polished and more of the real, because that's true. That's really,
polished.
I really want to hear them. I don't want to hear what they think we should hear. I want to hear them being themselves. And even if they swear, I don't care. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's more real. Even if they cut their finger on the side of the module, all that sort of stuff. I want it real. So that was kind of the whole purpose of Mailbag. And I do look like an absolute prat when I'm putting modules in, especially some of these really complex modules. Like I did the ADAX systems, the quantizer. It's a really complex module. It's a 4-channel quantizer, and there's like really difficult things to understand. And I remember I was telling my Patreons about it, how I was trying to film the video, and every time I filmed it, I kept forgetting how to do stuff. And so it was really hard. So that's kind of what we want people to sort of learn, is that when they go into Eurorack, sometimes it's cool, it's fun, but also sometimes it can be hard, and that is okay. I won't want the world to feel embarrassed if you find something difficult to use. I want you to feel, that we're all
It's
the
very
same.
challenging.
Yeah, we're all
Yes.
the same. So yeah. Now,
You're not wrong, Rans. It's a headache a lot of the time. I think. Well, I mean, can I give an example of what seems to me
Sure.
to be common sense, right? And over here, I'd set up the BeatStep Pro, no problem getting that thing to the various bits in the rack. What I couldn't get it to do was send a clock signal to sync the TD3 so that played in time. I think, okay, so we go clock out into clock in. Does it work? Does it bloody hell is like? Why not? What's going on? Why can I not get it to the two things to run together? And I seem to spend inordinate amounts of time trying to figure out why one thing doesn't do what I'm expecting it to do straight away. I don't understand. A lot of it, I just go, I thought I understood all of this, and I really don't. The more, I mean, I'm loving playing with it. I'm really enjoying the journey of discovery and even the process of frustration, of scratching my head, thinking, why can't I get a sound out of this? You know,
Yeah.
it's actually been a lot of fun. But heck, why won't they sync up? What am I doing wrong? Oh, sorry, I'm off on a tangent. Oh, by the way, just for your information, Rans, both Mac and myself think you should definitely go for 5 rows, because if you go for 4 rows, you'll regret it later.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the 5. I was just looking at some designs of, you know, just sketching on a sticky note, and I think the 5 would actually be quite a nice height. The 4 would probably sit around just below where this 2600 is, and it wouldn't actually look nice, whereas the 5 would just be above. So I kind of worked out that would actually be perfect for me. So yeah, I'm going to get another one of these. These are really good. I keep talking about them. So these are just your 19-inch rack desktop stands, right? And I've got
Cool.
a couple of synths that I want to put in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, when I make my I'm going to make 2 104 HP cases, and they're going to sit next to each other here. And on the other side, I'm going to have another one of these. So it'll be kind of 19-inch world, Euro rack world, 19-inch world, and you can interface into the both. So, I mean, this is kind of like modular, the way Behringer have invented this. So it's different to the original ARP 2600, the way its layout is slightly different. So, you know, I kind of like that whole sort of setup. It's nice. It takes less space as well. You can do a lot more with less space, which is something I'm big of. All right, so we should probably get stuck into the next topic. Now, Chelsea, we're gonna definitely keep talking to you over the next half hour or whatever's left of the show, because I want the chatties to put questions to you. I know some of them have seen you on things like Robin Vincent's show. I think that was last year when you were on his show. And
A whole year ago, yeah.
a whole year ago, wow. So I think that might have been when I first heard of you. I might have heard of you before that, I'm not sure. But anyway, it was around then anyway. So yeah, and he's a really good guy. We all respect him in our community here. And a lot of these people that are in the chat are regulars on his channel as well, which is the Molten Modular channel. And big hello to you, Robin, if you're watching. Okay, so what we should do though is I think we should get our teeth into the vintage synth topic, because, you know, it's always good to talk synths, right? So what I thought I'd do, now I've got a few vintage synths here, and there's not really sort of any rules. Like whenever I set these topics up, there's never any rules with this stuff. But what I thought I'd do is I'd show you one of my vintage synths. I think that's correct. It doesn't seem to have rotated it. Hang on a sec. Main. Sorry, I'll just have to rotate something. Here we go. Yay! Look how beaten up this thing looks, hey? Does everyone know what this is?
Oh, yes, indeed I do. I used to have the Poly 800.
So this is the desktop.
My first synth.
This is the desktop version of the Korg Poly 800, which is an analog synth from the early 80s, I guess, early to mid 80s anyway. This is probably one of my oldest synths that I've got here. I don't have any 70s stuff, so I haven't quite ventured into that sort of part of the world. But would you classify this as vintage, Darren? Good question for Darren. Is a Korg Poly 800 a vintage synth?
You're asking me?
Yep. Put you on the spot.
Come on, answer the question, Darren.
You could say it is. Well, yeah, all right, go on. I'll say yes.
So behind you,
To a degree.
you've got a Juno 6, right? And everyone classifies a Juno 6, I think everyone classifies a Juno 6 as a vintage synth.
Right.
I think they also classify your SH101 as a vintage synth. And I think, if I'm right, that the Poly and the EX800 is older. So is it date-based? Is it is it popularity-based?
Well, this is the question, isn't it? I mean, it's if you got like I think Chelsea said about cars, when they become a classic. I mean, I think over here, I think it's 25 years. I think, and then you could start classing it as a classic to a degree. But then it all depends on the actual car, I suppose, and I suppose that works with the synth.
Yeah.
But anything older, anything. Well, as soon as you take it out of the box, it could be vintage, couldn't it? I think it's got to have some time in the synth for it to be vintage. As to what point you class it as a vintage, is there a cut-off at a certain how old the synth is? It becomes a vintage. I don't know. I don't know whether you could say that or not. What would you say? I mean, I've got the AM1X. I mean, is that becoming a vintage synth?
Well, it's a
Or is
late
it still
90s.
too young?
It's late 90s, that AN1X. So
So is it becoming a vintage synth, or is it just
it's
an
classic.
old synth?
I'd call it a classic. Yeah.
So classic and vintage, we're going to go a bit different.
I think so. I think we could kind of
Then what's classic and what isn't?
we could kind of talk like cars, right? I think we could kind of sort of bring similarities to cars, couldn't we? I mean, they kind of have that down pat. By the way, I've just turned that light off, so it's not so glary. There you go. That's a bit better. It looks a lot nicer without the light on. You don't see all the oldness of this. But
So we're saying there's old, vintage, and classic.
I guess.
So
I mean,
these are all different.
I just made that sort of that connection to cars. I think because like you could look
That's
at
what I mean, but like we're saying,
you could look at an Axis Virus. They don't make
the AN1X.
They don't make any new models.
Is a classic synth, you saying, or is it synth?
I think it's heading towards vintage. I don't know when it becomes vintage though, and this is kind of what I want to ask you guys. Like, what do you guys think is vintage? Wagoo's saying in chat that he thinks vintage is 25 plus years. That's what he's saying. 25 plus years is what Sasquatch is saying. Yeah, a lot of people. Some people are thinking it's 30 years. So yeah. So
I think
when's the AN1X 25 years? It'd be getting close to it. It'd be 23 or 24 years now, surely.
Yeah, 97. I think it was 97.
Andy,
doesn't the word vintage in itself imply some level of indescribable quality? If you're talking wines, whiskies, that sort of thing, it does the same apply to synths, or is vintage just interchangeable with old? Because we all know that there are some old bits of kit which are truly rubbish, and really, the vintage. Well, heck, the Poly 800, they sold loads of those things, and I think it holds a place in the heart of a lot of people. Like I said, it was my first real synthesizer.
sounds like a doorbell.
There you go. It can sound well. It's a weird thing because it's
I
got
thought it
like
was
a slightly additive, because you can put in all those funny harmonics, and it's a weird box. It's a weird box, but on the other hand,
It is.
I felt that the thing had a character and a personality, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are going up in value. I mean, there'll have been a time when you couldn't have given those things away. Poly 800s and EX 800s. Yeah, is it?
I think you just answered it there, Andy.
Go on, Darren. Sorry.
I think you've answered it because I think well, vintage is sort of more old. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a classic. You could have like the old, I think it was an old Tandy, I forget the name. That's well vintage, but it's not a classic. And yet you've got like my Juno, which is slightly younger than that, and that's classed as a classic and a vintage synth. So
yeah, classic and vintage are not the same necessarily, or classic, vintage, old, knackered, whichever label you want.
No, that's me.
So Chelsea, what do you have that may be classified as vintage, or do you not sort of venture down that part of the world?
Oh no, I did. I was really fascinated by it. Like, you know, this stuff is all made in the 80s, the ones that became really commercially and accessible to lots of people. So my auntie was a pop singer in the 80s, and one time she went up to her attic and got down her later for me. So I was really like, this is amazing, and it was so
sorry, what did she bring
and
down?
it makes any sounds.
Yeah,
the Emu Drumulator.
Oh wow!
Oh,
yeah.
wicked! Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I'm a fan of those. Yeah.
But you know, I didn't really know what to do with it. I was heavy, and it only made a few sounds. So I was like, I can't bend it because I didn't know much about it back then. But so yeah, I sold it. But the DX7, my friend has the DX7, and he got one of those cartridges that you can like all the algorithms in, and that was really fun to play with too.
So they classify the DX7 as a vintage, don't they?
That's definitely a vintage classic synth. And then if you think about the Linn drum, that's probably really, really classic. You know, the ones that are, I mean, the one you have right there, right? The ARP.
Yeah, the 2600.
That's the old one.
Well, that's
it's really old.
That's a Behringer, that one.
Yeah, well, the new ones, the remakes, that doesn't count.
Mine's
original
a
fake. Which is okay.
It's like a fake Rolex, right? That's what I've got. So it does sound good though. Look, I think
you've got the classic vintage sound, but not the actual gear.
I think what Chelsea said.
Even sound can be classic and vintage.
I like what she said. She said it's something that may be inaccessible. I like that word. She'd said a few things, but I think the key one there is maybe the fact that it's inaccessible. In other words, they don't make them anymore. That may render something vintage. Now, we were showing a Eurorack module before, the one that was being scammed.
The Strymon.
The Strymon, yeah. So technically, you're going to have Eurorack modules becoming vintage soon because Eurorack's been around since early 2000s. And before that, before you had Eurorack, you had Modular. And Modular's been around since, the early 70s, late 60s. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong there, but somewhere around that point of time as well. So it's been around for a long time. And definitely the old Moog systems and the ARP 2500s and all those sort of things are definitely classified as vintage. So it's a good topic. It's a good topic to bring up. Now, talking about, so when is something vintage? It doesn't really matter if someone thinks vintage is 30 years, someone thinks it's 20 years. I think it's more to do with what you think it is. And like Chelsea said, it's more to do with the fact that you've got something that you've got some sort of romantic sort of belief of what this is delivering you sonically. It's something like from the past that you've enjoyed listening to, from your favorite artists of the past, things like that. So what have we all got in our synth collections that we classify as vintage? So Andy, I think I know what you're going to say you've got, but I'm interested to see if you say anything else.
I have 3 which I consider now to be vintage. Obviously, there was the Pro 1 we saw earlier, the very poorly Pro 1, still very poorly. My W30 sampler, which I see as vintage and a classic. The same is true of the Pro 1. That's a vintage and a classic. It's great. And another synth which is definitely vintage in terms of age, but I don't think anyone would ever call it a classic, and that's the Korg DW6000 I really wish it was an 8000, but it's not. It's a Korg DW6000. In fact, I haven't switched it on in vintage years. It must be 20 years since it was actually switched on. The battery's probably leaked all over the inside, and it's probably knackered
Oh
now.
no.
But, I really should check. But I've no idea. It might be absolutely fine for all I know. It's just
Yeah.
I haven't done anything with it. So those are my three, and like anything
Andy?
else that are these old. Sorry, go on, Darren.
What's at the side of you there? Just to the side of your blue.
What's at the side of me? Oh, you mean the supernova?
Your keyboard. The side there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
see, the weird thing is, I bought this from new. I bought this from new on my credit card, and all that. So I can't. I don't see it in those. So I still don't see it as like as a vintage. Is it a classic? I think of the genre of virtual analog synths. I think it really is a classic of that genre. It's an amazing synthesizer, but I in my own head I don't think of it like that. It's
one of the first VAs.
New synth.
Definitely one of the first.
One
VAs.
of them, yeah, one of them, and it still sounds fantastic.
And it's old enough
really,
now.
really good. And Native, stop pestering me about the Pro One, or I'll come round and slap you. Anyway, so I'm getting like Robbie now. Robbie's like that with me when I pester him about his KX88.
I think that point that you made before about the fact that you bought it, and because you bought it, you may feel that it's not vintage. Like I've got the XP10, the video.
Well, you bought the other stuff.
The XP10, I bought that brand new.
No, I did.
I bought that in the 90s. I've got the
Unless it nicked it.
I've got the digital version of what Darren's got, which is a CS1X, and I bought that brand new in the 90s as well. So when do we consider our stuff that we bought, years ago? I mean, that's what we're getting to now. 25 years ago, nearly. Wow,
it's funny.
It's a long time.
The second-hand purchases always have a feel that they're actually more. They're more vintage because they were second-hand when I bought them. So even the DW30 was second-hand when I bought it.
Well, at that photo,
Well, that's interesting. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Oldest I have is the Gen S6000 with wooden ends. Yeah.
I was going to show you a photo that I
Good
put
old
on my Facebook a while ago of some gear that I had in the early part of 2000/2001. When was it? When did I put that up? I forgot to go too far. Here it is. Here we go. Cool. This is a shocking photo of me, so please excuse myself looking like shit. It's just me in the old days, in the vintage days. Here we go. I've got to drag it into the show. Hang on. There we go. There's a photo of me in, I think it was around 2000. And you can see...
really cute.
You can see there's the XP10, there's the CS1X, there's also a Roland MC505. And
505.
an Electro.
DB.
DB pedal down the bottom? Yeah.
DB.
Jeez, they were shocking, those things. They were shocking, those pedals. So yeah.
Oh, I loved the Groove Box. The MC303.
It's a 505, that one. Yeah.
Oh, Chelsea.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah, we've both got them. I've got a 303 as well. Yeah. Are they vintage?
Darren's got everything. Darren's got
I
everything
haven't
in
got
that room.
everything.
He
I
really has
froze
got
it in the freezer as well, remember?
He's got a. I was going to say you've got a Synclavier in the fridge, haven't you?
He actually froze an MC303 in the freezer. He actually did. Yeah.
So how often, if you have these old ones around, how actually you play them? Once in a while?
No, I use my studio setup is because I work in the box and out of the box. So rather than play sort of my equipment live to make the tracks, I use sort of whole studio as a sound source and then create the tracks in and sort of out of the box. So a lot of my tracks that I do, most of this stuff does get used on tracks at some point. So I don't know. Often I would say I'd use them, but they all get used at some point because it all goes on a track at some point. like I said, I did a full track with just the MC303 when I froze it in the freezer. I think that's quite a while back on my videos. But yeah, I use all this stuff gets used, even if it's just for sound source. Even if I just use it to overlay other sounds. So I couldn't really say I use such and such. Say for instance, A1X is being worked on for the album, and I've not used a Juno on it, so that might have a rest for a month or two, and then I'll just decide that I need it. I don't know. I couldn't really put an actual how often I use each instrument, but they do all get used at some point when I'm writing my tracks. So yes, it's all used. It's not just sat there.
Okay, if you're sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you go, Chelsea.
I was gonna say if you're sourcing a sound from the Vintage Synth, are you not gonna put effect, or are you gonna master it? Like, does the quality of the sound have to be straight, or do you have to think on it too?
I didn't catch all that. You broke up. If you're saying, did you say? I didn't catch all that. Was it? Do I? Go on.
So if you're sourcing the sound from a vintage synth, do you have to put an effect on it, or do you avoid putting effect on it to keep that vintage sound?
Good question. Yes, sometimes I do put effects on it, and sometimes I keep it as raw as I possibly can, and no effects on it. It all depends. I think it all depends on what idea I've got as I'm writing a track or writing whatever I'm doing, as to whether I decide. I'm not a diehard analog purist. In other words, if I decide the Juno wants to have an effect on before it goes into a project that I'm writing, then I will do. But on the other hand, sometimes I will just use it as plain and raw as it comes out of the synth. So yes, it can be either for me.
Okay, bit of both.
If that answers your question, am I right with that?
Yeah.
There you go. There's the two babies. It's hard to lift them both. There's the 303. There's the 303, and there's the 505.
Oh, the 505 is just bigger.
Oh yeah, it's massive.
It's just a bit bigger.
And I'm getting it all caught up in my microphone.
But you need to get the D-beam out of it.
They both work.
I want to make a little box with the D-beam on.
But I've had that since brand new, and I've had that since, geez, what it would have been, 97. I think I bought that brand new. And even when I bought that...
Is that vintage or classic then, Mans?
Well, that's the thing I'm trying to sort of work out. When does stuff become vintage? I mean, they don't make them anymore. And a lot of us would agree that the 505 is one of the best groove boxes that Roland ever made, because they still don't put some of the features in there, like the 707, their latest one. They don't put some of the features that this had way back then in it. So go figure. It becomes desirable. It becomes, unobtainable in that sense, doesn't it?
So Wagyu just put something up.
Let's have a look what they're saying. Now, we do want to get back to, we want to get back to questions for Chelsea in a sec as well. D-Beam's in the house. Yay! Thanks, Wagyu, for the £6.66. Jeez, wow. Is it like the number of the beast or something?
It's the roll, isn't it, that sticks?
Yes. Right. Anyone, what are they saying in chat? I haven't actually been keeping an eye because I've been busy running a show. I always get told off for this. I don't know if you've ever tried to, but it's really hard to keep an eye on the chat as well as do all the other stuff at the same time. You have to trust me on that.
What? No multitasking, Rans? Cool.
Oh, I'm multitasking my little butt off right now, let me tell you. So
I will say though, I think that's a great idea what Chelsea.
QRDNK's also got a 505 as well. There's a few people who got a 505 actually. Cool. It's a bit of love for the 505 today. Good. Nothing wrong with that. I do apologise for making your eyes bleed before about looking at a photo of myself back in the early 2000s. But I just wanted to show you that that gear that I had back then, I've still got every single piece. I've still got the XP10, I've still got the CS1X, and they all still work perfectly. And none of that stuff is the older stuff that I've got. So that EX800 that I've got in front of me here is older, probably by a good 12, 13 years. But I haven't had that since new. I've had this since probably 2013. So, and when I got it, it was in really poor condition. It's actually really poor condition. And you look at it, like when I turn the light on, you can see all the little pittings on the metal here. See all the little sort of, it's not because it's been, and you can see all the scratches down the side. That's scratches. But this is kind of where the paint has pitted, and it feels like sandpaper. It feels horrible. And I've cleaned this up.
Because you're hitting it because you couldn't get the sound you wanted.
Yeah, keep missing the button. I've cleaned this up where this sticker paint thing here was actually grey before, and now it's actually a colour that it resembles what it originally was. So this thing's been cleaned, and all these buttons didn't work. I'll turn the light back off because it's better to see. All of these buttons didn't work, so I had to pull them all apart and clean them. They've got these little, there's a video on my channel about it. There's got these little copper things inside them that you've got to clean. So it's a really clunky interface, this thing. It's really clunky, but it tells you what to do. So synthesis-wise, it's everything's here. It tells you if you want filter, if you want DCO2, DCO1. There's a chorus in here as well. It's pretty cool. It's not going to be a show about this, but I just thought I'd show you that. In terms of vintage synths, I've got, I think the Ensoniq ESQ1 might be newer than that. I've got a DX7 II, which might be around about the same age as the Ensoniq. What else? Something else around that age anyway, forget now.
1983 for the Poly 800 and the EX800.
Yeah, I think that's my oldest.
The DX7 Mark II is 88.
Yeah, and I think the ESQ1 is 86. And
yep, around then.
Yeah, so now all of that stuff, except for the DX7 II, has had repairs. So my ESQ1's had 2 repairs done on it. My EX800, I repaired that myself. So that's one of the other parts of having vintage gear that you have to kind of understand, that eventually, like you were saying, Andy, you haven't turned on your DW6000. You might find that the battery's leaked in it or something. I mean, God help you if that happens, because you can, kiss it goodbye almost if that happens.
Doorstop, wouldn't it?
All right, now we're going to go to questions for Chelsea, because I think while we've got her here, it's special to have her. And how often do we get someone?
I just want to say something, actually.
Yeah?
I just want to say I think that's a really good idea what Chelsea's doing, having that studio time for the modular, because it's so tricky for people to get into modular if they've never done it before, and have something where you can go and just try it out. Right, I know you can do it with like VCV rack and things like that, but it's not actually physically handling modular, because it's not like you buy a synth and you can put your synth on your desk, hit the presets, and you're getting sounds that you may or may not like, but you do that with a modular, and it can be soul destroying for people who are not willing to sort of, get into it and try it. So going to somewhere for someone to show you how to use it and get your hands on it is a great idea. I think there should be more places that do that, actually. So that's all I want to say. Carry on.
We got a question, and they're coming in for Chelsea. So the first one, Chelsea, is for you. This is from Magoo. Why do you go to me for? You don't need my ugly face. Here we go. So he said, favourite modules and what is in her current gas list. So there you go, Chelsea. 2 questions from Magoo.
Well, I didn't even know what the gas was until I was demoing this DRP state variable filter, and he's like, "I gotta give everybody gas," and I was like, "What? What's gas?" Gear acquisition syndrome. Understand? Because this is one of my favorite modules, the GRP SVF. It's so clean. It's so solid, and I love that it has the FM inputs and the active input too. So that's the favorite filter. I really like my new. Well, it's not new. I've had it for almost more than a year now, but it still feels new because it's one of my newest
Say that.
The Bastille Grandpa.
Sorry, Chelsea. Just say that filter name again because it just cut out when you said it. The filter you said. What was it called?
Okay, it's the GRP variable filter.
GRP variable filter. Yep.
State variable filter. Yeah, because it has the 4 different settings on there. And
Nice.
yeah, you can switch through high pass, band pass, and those. And then the Grandpa is a regular sampler, so you can load in samples and just make them really crunchy and crazy. It's really fun to play around with. And I love my Magneto, of course.
Oh, my favorite module.
Yeah. And I also love, well, the Burden, which is in my other case.
Sorry, that one just cut out when you said that. Sorry, say that one again.
Bird Kids Raven. It's I think it's like 82 HP. Is it 42 HP? No, it's not 82. What am I talking about? 42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does it do?
So it's a big. It's a dual oscillator with built-in VCA filter and fader and
Nice.
LFOs.
Nice.
Yeah, it does a lot of stuff, and you can play it with itself. It's pretty much an all-in-one, so you can put it in one of those little pods with maybe a couple of them. And yeah, it would be like, I mean, it's like its own, it's like a little Moog sub-fatty all by itself, without the keyboard, of course. And
So basically,
Pams.
you're just naming all your modules now, aren't you?
I just love them.
Yeah. Okay, we got some more questions. We'll just keep on you. So Sasquatch has said, what would Chelsea suggest as a first foray into modular?
You mean how to get into it?
Yeah, maybe the first touch of it, I guess. Maybe
Like
we'll get
the first one you should get? I don't understand.
So let's get him to answer that. So just clarify what you mean by first foray, and he'll get back to us. Then Sensian has asked, will CV Freaks events be in Portland in Oregon, I guess?
Well, it's going to be a traveling event because we used to, I did them all in London. Obviously, I can't go back to London right now because of the pandemic. So as soon as I can, I will go to London to do one. But I want to do one also in Germany, in Berlin. I want to do one in maybe places, California, where they have really big, communities. And I would love to go do a return CV Freaks to Portland. I know Jeff is doing Vault Divers there, which, I would be glad to come in and do one there again. I mean, it's just like a traveling. Yeah, it's going to be so.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay.
Do them all over.
So Sasquatch has clarified. He said first beginner module variety.
Simple things like Pittsburgh. Just really, really basic, also basic filter and VCA, so you can start to understand the work until you get like the ones with the fancier features, like bigger ones that are harder to work with more ins and outs, like just basics and a couple utilities too, which there are a lot of variants on utility modules, and they're hard to understand, some of them. So they're a little bit more advanced. Like my friend DB John Walbeck, his modules are so advanced, and they do really interesting things. But you have to have a really, really kind of even a very analytical mind, or to look at the sound rather than something that's plug and play. You know?
Yeah. Like the Make Noise Maths, for example, that's a good utility module.
Yeah, the maths, and instead of the maths, I'm using the PEG. So and then the Bifaco have the Rampage. Yep. And these are all very kind of almost similar designs, that they made them that way. They're the envelope, that they have the two sides, and they do. You can do two different things with them. Yeah. Or a lot of things. But I've had since the very beginning. Out of maths.
Yep, I've still got mine. But my very beginning is much sooner than your very beginning, because you said you started in 2013. So that's you're getting vintage now in the Eurorack side of things. So
Yeah.
okay, so we've got some more questions. Where was it? Someone said somewhere it was about the Behringer modules. Sasquatch asked, has Chelsea tried any of the Behringer modules, and do you have an opinion of them?
I have tried zero Behringer modules. The only thing I had from Behringer was some monitors in London, which they worked fine, but I've never tried or used their modules or synths. Every time I would be at a synth convention, the booth would be overcrowded, and so I never even got to play like the Deep Mind or any, so no, no Behringer, no comment.
Fair enough. What else have we got? Adamski has asked, what are your main inspirational sources for your creativity? Do you have more productive time of the day? It's two parts, I guess, to his question.
What part of my day do I dedicate creativity? Is that?
Yeah. So, what is your main sources of inspiration for your creativity, and do you have a more productive time of the day?
Okay. So I'm very inspired by listening to music that I love. So I've been listening to Extravelt lately, a lot of drum and bass. I love heavy synth sounds, and you listen to those when I'm like driving or, doing some activities. But when I'm concentrating on stuff, I'll listen to something like a little bit heavier noise or some crazy industrial stuff. But yeah, that's a big source of inspiration, and trying to find new stuff that I like. And there's so much out there right now. So, and then let's go back to the old classics, Aphex Twin, Tecker, and that.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so it's just really, really important to focus on a few different things. I just saw yesterday the live stream of Mode Selectors. It was really brilliant. Something that they did called Work for an art concert or something. It was amazing. So I was glad I caught a little bit. But the productive time I have is basically when my son's in preschool.
Yeah, because that's when you have some freedom, right?
Yeah, because I can work with him, study a little bit, and try to work on some tracks. But I can't do any of my night work like I used to do.
Yeah,
Working at
exactly.
night too.
Yeah. So, Tempera Boto has asked, how do you record? Do you use a DAW?
Oh yeah, I use Ableton, of course. I just run it through the whatever interface I was using Motu for a while. Now I'm using the Scarlett. There's many inputs, but I just use two. I put it in the ES8, which I can channel two channels from the output of the ES8 into the Scarlett, and then one mixer into one channel of the ES8. So then it will be like 4 on, and then the other 3 can be, yeah. You know how it goes. It's a little confusing.
So just there's a couple more questions. I'll get to those in a sec. So we talk quite a lot of modular on this show, and obviously there's some of us have sort of quite well into their journey with modular. Some of us are starting out, and so for example, Andy's only just sort of started his journey, and
January it started.
He's taken a very sort of probably quite a good research sort of approach to it. So he's kind of taken his time and sit back and sort of take it all in and research stuff, and then he's thought to himself, okay,
wait for us to do it wrong.
Yeah, before he commits his money, he's kind of he's taken his time. Yeah,
I think
yeah, keep going.
So I was just going to say, one of the things that you keep seeing on sort of forums and how to get into Eurorack videos and this, that, and the other is this idea of identifying what it is you want your system to do, which is I always thought that was slightly bizarre because I found how do I know? And yet I tried to focus on that, and that was my first starting point. What do I want it to do? And that was why I ended up with my first two modules, because I wanted it specifically to deliver me those Tangerine Dream style sequences. And I looked at that and looked at that. That's the way I'm going to do it, and it worked a treat. And from that point on, it's just been building on bits. Now it was interesting. It was interesting what Eden was saying about the sort of utility things, because some of the first modules that I bought were also, really quite boring utility things, like an output module which had a headphone jack on it and a mult unit, because I thought, well, I'm going to need to do mults pretty quickly. I realised, oh yeah, and it begins as you add another bit and another bit. It sort of reveals itself as to what you're going to need next, like, and that's becoming that's where the rabbit hole gets bigger and bigger, and you start to fall further down. So, I wish it would do this. What do I need to make it do that? I'm going to need one of those. I better get one, and it just keeps going. But it's never been going out and buying a whole shed load of stuff all at once. It's been a bit and a bit and a bit, and it comes and you put it in, you play with it, you see if it does what you're expecting it to do, or you try to make it do what you want it to do. And it's been very, very sort of, I say, a lot of people saying, "Oh, you've gone on it hammer and tongs, Brooksy." I haven't really. It's been a bit and a bit and a bit and a bit and a bit. So, and I think that's a good way of doing it. And that's one of the blessings of modular in some ways, is that you can take your time, you can get a bit, you can learn that bit, but it'll still chuck you curveballs, and you'll think, what? Why can't I make it do that? It's wonderful. I think it's been one of the most inspiring and wonderful things I've got into in ages and ages. So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was a bit different. I kind of wanted to break the mold of what we're being forced to do with synthesizers. Synthesizers have internal wiring, internal routing, internal modulation, and you're forced to do the things that they will only let you do. And if you want to do something outside of that, unless you've got a synthesizer that's got a lot of CV connectivity or something special,
modulation matrices.
And even with some of those, they don't have enough. So I kind of really just wanted a bit more freedom, and that's kind of why I got into it. And it started with my glitch case, which is this one right next to me here. I call it my glitch case. So I just wanted to have something that glitched things up, and it started with the Roland Scooper module, which I bought actually, probably 2015, 2014, somewhere around there. And then when the Magneto first came out, I got that straight away because I absolutely fell in love with the Magneto. I'm a Strymon fan with their stuff anyway, but what that module does, it's not like, a lot of people don't realize what it actually does. It's not just a tape delay. It is so much more than that. And musically, it can be really, really interesting what it can do musically for you. So, and that's kind of where I went with it. I went with clouds and rings, and I kind of just, glitching things up. And obviously, other things happened as well. So, you kind of, it's kind of what you said, Andy, but also a little bit different. I think everyone has a little bit of a different sort of goal in mind. And Chelsea, I'm interested to see what yours was originally. Like, what was your original Eurorack idea? What sort of got you into it?
I just loved the possibility of experimentation, and that, when Formus, they lent me, they borrow a case of modules, and they had me put them all in. I was just playing with them, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. making sound, and it was making amazing sound. Like it sounded like something weird and alien, and I was like, this is brilliant. Like how doing that? It's just the experimentation and the unexpected sounds that you can get from. And now if even when you know what you're doing, it's kind of like when you know how to play an instrument that you can't improvise as well, like for classical players and stuff. So when you come in with an open mind, don't know how to play it, then this experimentation can get you some really, really weird stuff. And that's pretty much why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
I love making up stuff. Yeah.
Being different, you know, being innovative, that's kind of where you want to come from, isn't it? You want to have that sort of fresh, innovative, different sort of sound.
Yeah, because everybody's system is completely different. And then like one oscillator will sound much different than another. So it's really fun to compare them and modulate them and, you know, try and see any different possibilities as you can get to find very unique sounds.
Yeah. Okay, so there was some other questions which I neglected to ask because I'm such an awesome host. X101 has asked, he's rephrased his question, so I'll ask the rephrased question. How much post-arrangement do you do, Chelsea, after you record stuff in Ableton? Like I guess he means, you know, mixing, mastering, effects, things like that.
It depends on the project, but, you know, on my new EP, I have that song Beach Drive Beat, which I started last summer, and I worked for a very long time. And then I have the other song, Hole in My Heart, which I made in one day. And I was like, this is amazing. How on earth, you know, because it used to be you sit down and work for good hours and it just starts flowing. And it's just like, whoa, where did this come from? That hasn't happened years.
Yeah.
You know, you spend hours sitting there working on it, and it's like, this is really dope. I'm happy with this. Like, so it just depends on the project. And right now I have something I've been working on since January, and it's driving me nuts a little bit because I really like it. And, it, you know, it's growing, evolving, but it's like now I want to spend thing and then it loses something from that original. But yeah, it just depends on the project. But I do quite a lot of that post-production stuff. But if I record something in with the modular, like a noise jam, then maybe I'll put it on a couple, maybe add some effects, make sure it's not your ears out in any parts. Like I don't like those super high resonant frequencies. They drive me nuts. So I try to avoid those. But you know, a modular jam can just be very simple and not need much at all.
Yeah, did you see that?
Like most of it.
Did you see that module that ALM have just brought out? I talked about it on my show a couple of weeks ago, which is kind of like it's kind of like a mixing module, but they've got all these different like EQ levels and stereo separation. Yeah, it's super cool.
Collaboration with Warren. Yeah. Warren is amazing. Yeah, I love the sound space. I mean, that's just perfect for like an art installation or some surround sound, and then do crazy things with if you had like a 16 channel surround.
Yeah, and on top of that, you go.
Yeah, I think the sound space is 16, or it might be 12.
I think it's 16. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah,
cool.
ALM is one of my favorites, and that they collaborated on that. Really, really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that kind of excites me about that is a lot of the guesswork is worked out for you, so you don't have to like be an audio engineer and know a lot of the crap that we just really haven't got time to learn because we've got so many other things that we need to learn. Like Eurorack modules can be some can be very simple to use and some can be really complex, and learning how to use them and learning how to use them together well, and not having to worry about too much about this audio engineering stuff. Like you were saying before, Chelsea, like you don't like sometimes how like noises can have really high frequencies and they can really sort of overtake your mix, and just knowing that if you plug it in through something, it's going to take care of that. I think that's kind of peace of mind as a performer.
Yeah, I just don't want to put people through too much pain as well. If they're listening to something, I'm always really comforting. Everybody loves bass, you know. It's like
it's warm.
Kind of, it's warm. The resonance, if the resonance is too high, it's just horrible.
Yeah,
hurts.
Unless it's acid, of course. Then we're okay with it.
Oh, yeah.
So your video is just broken up for a second there, Chelsea. So I don't know if there's an issue with the internet. It's coming good. Yes, it's back. Okay, good. All right. So I think we're probably getting close to almost hitting the 2-hour mark on the show. And there's been a lot of... Yes, go for
it. Chelsea, when you're writing a track, do you have a track in mind to write, or do you just sort of jam and a track comes from that, if that makes sense? Or do you actually have a specific, I want to make a specific track and I know the sort of what I want to make for that track?
That depends as well. Like the one I made, and that really came from a jam. But the ones that take longer, like I started with an originality and I changed it because I was like, oh, this is, I don't want to fix it completely because, you know, I can just change, you know, progression of the chord and make it not sound like I had wanted it to sound, and now I want it to sound different. So, but it's very that I'll be like, you know, not around the equipment and have an idea in my head and say, oh, I've got to go put that down right now. Yeah, that doesn't happen too much anymore. You just sit with the equipment and start. Yeah. But the ideas appearing, that only happens in special circumstances.
But when it does, you're kind of like, yes. Because I haven't worked for a whole year on this song. I've worked just for a day. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it happens. Like something from inspiration from other tracks, you know, ones that you like. Do you guys know D-Bridge, that drum and bass guy? I sent him my interpretation of drum and bass. He's like, okay, this is cool. Why don't you just go find a track that you like and copy it exactly? I was like, doesn't sound too good. But I guess he means to copy the song structure. I'm not really sure what he meant. I don't really like copying things exactly as they are, you know?
There's a guilt associated to that, isn't there? There's a respect there. You've got the respect for the artist, and then if I was to copy it, there's a guilt associated with doing that. And so, you know, one will take away the other. You don't want to lose the respect and gain guilt. So I'm kind of the same. I don't like to copy. I mean, I don't mind, you know, like, for example, if I'm demonstrating a synth for it to sound like Jean-Michel Jarre or something, just that's not a track I've made. I'm not talking about that. I'm just demoing things. But in my music, I don't like to copy any sort of music riffs or melody or melodic. You know, I like to sort of try and be like, you clear your mind. Is that what you do, Chelsea? Do you just sort of clear your mind? You've got something as like a topic that you want your music to be within, but you're kind of clearing your mind from the other influences so that way it's more you, it's more organic. Is that kind of what you do?
Well, it's always evolving as well. It's changing a lot. Because, you know, however you're feeling at the time, whatever you're listening to, it all kind of has an effect. And just want to express that all the time. But that's another reason why this is the best, because there's just starting points and it's always unique. It's always surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I reckon we could talk for hours, but we can't, obviously, because we've all got lives to live. And I'm sure people have got things to do for the rest of the day, but I do really, really appreciate you giving us your time today, Chelsea. And like I said, we'll when we finish with this stream, that it will be up for people to rewatch. I'm not going to take it down; it will be up there permanently, and all the links to your Bandcamp, your CV Freaks will be on there, so people can go check all that out. So much appreciated for coming on the show. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me as a guest, and great to meet all of you. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah,
lovely to meet you.
Welcome on anytime.
Really smashing.
As I say, you're always welcome to come back. I know it's early-ish in the morning for you over there in Miami. It's not too bad though, is it? It's not like it's 5 a.m. or anything like that. It's
yeah, no, just the start of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've still got the rest of the day ahead of you.
Yep, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Fantastic. Beautiful. All right, and obviously a big thanks to the chatties for being part of the show, as they always are. Like I always say, awesome to have you guys there. Really good to be back streaming again. I know it feels like it was only a week or so ago that I was here, but it seems like ages. It was nice to have a break, but at the same time I missed it. So big thanks to Darren, who's there, and Andy, who's there, for being on the show. Thank you guys for being on and putting up with me telling you short notice that you can't be on and then you can be on. Things like that. I swear. It's a wonderful life that we live in streaming land, especially when we don't get paid. I just wanted to quickly mention to everyone before we disappear that we probably next week we're probably going to do a show where we're going to talk a little bit more about our music journeys. And it's kind of actually Chelsea's fault, so you can blame her. It's kind of, I feel we kind of need to do more about, instead of the gear, we need to talk more about music, and we can bring the gear into it, of course, because it's important. Yeah. But I think we need to talk about our music journeys. Good. I am actually, I guess I showed a photo of me today about 20 years ago. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey and to sort of break the ice, and a lot of people probably don't know. So I think it'll be interesting. Well, I do anyway. And then hopefully it'll inspire whoever else is on the show to share. And we'll touch some of those music snips as we go. I really would have liked to have played more of Chelsea's music, but I just don't want to get YouTube claims against me, which kind of sucks. But yeah, this is kind of how the world works. Maybe we can organise her to come on in the future, and we can do get her to do some sort of jam or something. I reckon that'd be cool. It'd be a lot more fun. Yeah, really. So we'll see.
Yeah, sure.
We'll see. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Anyway, we are going to say goodbye. So Chelsea, just hang around for 5 after I stop streaming. I will say goodbye to you in a sec. But this is just goodbye to everyone watching live. See you later, everybody. I'm just going to roll the stinger, which is this button. Boom.
Take care.